Check. Good afternoon, welcome back to the HTML5 strand here at Apps World. My name is Martin Bryant, I'm managing editor at The Next Web, and I'm the chair here in this room today. We've got a packed afternoon of talks based around HTML5 related development issues. Our first talk of the day will be starting in just a moment. Just a couple of quick reminders. Twitter hashtag is Apps World, and if you are tweeting about what's happening here, please add HTML5 as well, and we'll keep an eye out for what you're talking about. We will be taking some questions at the end of Oren's talk, so if you put your hand up, if you've got a question, just wait for the microphone, please, and so then everyone can hear you. And yeah, so our first talk of the afternoon is Oren Farhi, a web front-end architect, JavaScript expert and UI consultant, and he is talking about a case study diving into OOP.js and architecture using Backbone and Angry Birds. Oren.
All right, so thank you all for being here. So a quick survey before I start. Who is here developing in JavaScript or maybe CSS or HTML? Can you raise your hands? All right, pretty much everyone. Cool. So we're gonna have an awesome talk today, and it's gonna be fun. And just bear with me with all these slides going on, and I promise you will enjoy this one. So again, quick introduction. My name is Oren Farhi. I'm a front-end architect and JavaScript engineer at Tikal. I'm doing JavaScript development mostly with Backbone.js. It's an MVC library, and we're going to see it later on. This is my website and my Twitter and also my GitHub. So this talk is already on GitHub. You can just download this talk and watch the source code and take whatever you want from there. So a few words about the place I'm coming from. Tikal is a leading provider of open source solutions. We have teams such as .NET, Java, mobile, JavaScript, and we provide software stacks and workshops in almost any field we're developing with. And we also do some subscriptions to software development, as well as we have a great community website, it's tikalk.com, you should go there. So to start up, JavaScript, as you all know, is pretty much Wild West language. I mean, before 2 years from now, we didn't have all these technologies and libraries and frameworks to organize our code to be better for maintaining it and to be flexible enough to add features or remove features. So I was looking for some methods to organize the code so it will be easy to maintain, easy to be add features. And I started looking at Gmail, Twitter, maybe Grooveshark, which is a music player based on the web. Also LinkedIn Mobile lately done a great job in their web mobile application. So they all use the same common of a single page app application. I mean, there's one gateway where you enter the application, and from there you navigate to the various screen of the application. So the basic idea goes like that. We have a certain application controller, which is the green rectangle, and it basically manages all the workflow in the application. It manages all the modules that's inside the application. It basically tells them what to do, when to start and when to stop, and how to communicate between each other. So a module is practically the blue rectangle, and it can be a location manager, it can be a to-do list. If we take Twitter, it can be any list of tweets. And each module is supposed to be a self-operable unit. I mean, it's self-contained. It doesn't know about any of the other modules, and it doesn't supposed to. So it just communicates through events, practically through the application controller or some other mediator. And this is how it notifies about special events and data that it runs within itself. I know it's a little bit boring, so I think this is a little bit interesting. Is there anybody here who's not familiar with the Angry Birds game? No hands. Oh, you do? All right. Just kidding. All right. So, just be taking this concept to the Angry Birds game. We're going to see how we're going to develop some of the Angry Birds game using JavaScript, using organization, using MVC framework. So to take the previous slide, so if we are to develop the Angry Birds game, we're going to have an application manager such as the green cloud over here, which practically starts the application and starts all the various modules. So any module in the application can be the pigs, maybe the birds, the slingshot, maybe ice walls, even the score. And we could have some modules which does not have any visual presentation, such as doing some background jobs, storage management and location management, and so on. So this is practically what we're going to see today in this talk. So without further ado, let's play. So first of all, I want to take you back to the native world of JavaScript. What we used to do if we were going to build the RedAngry Bird is just starting an empty JavaScript file. I call it RedAngry Birds.js. And in the past, we used to put some global variables, such as the bird's properties, and its color, its name, and its powers. And later on, we put some global functions, the global namespace, and then we just added some event listeners to the DOM, and then we just go with it. I mean, this code works, but we've been there. We don't want to duplicate code, and we want to make it better. We want to make it more organized. So we've come to be a little smarter, and we created reusable objects or JavaScript classes. So I just took a function and defined it as a RedAngry Bird. This is how I'm defining a new class in JavaScript. I just put all the global variables inside this constructor of the function. And the next thing I did is took all the global functions and put it inside the prototype object. It means that every instance of this RedAngry Bird object will have access to these methods. So how do I use it? Simply enough, I'm just creating two birds, for example, the red hat, just creating a new RedAngry Bird, and I'm also creating the red nose, which is another new Angry Bird. Each one lives on its own, but has access to all the methods that we've defined in the prototype property. So we can use the attack function, for example, or removing, and each one will has its own access to these methods, and it will not have any it will not have any access to other instances. So just to show you a quick demo of what we've done here. Alright, so created new Angry Birds, and we can just take an Angry Bird and throw it. We can create as many birds as we like. So this is our reusable object, alright? So this is cool, this is nice, and we want to take the game a step further. So the next bird is the BlueAngry Bird. Alright, so what I did is I took the RedAngry Bird class and just convert it into a more generic Angry Bird. So I would like to add more colors to my Angry Birds. So I practically just added a new color as a property of the Angry Bird, and I just added the same methods of the RedAngry Birds to the prototype. So again, I'm still using it the same way as I used the RedAngry Bird. I'm just creating new Angry Birds. For instance, I created Twitter as the BlueAngry Bird. I just assigned a new color as blue over here, and created Red Hat as a new RedAngry Bird. And again, I have the same access to the same functions and methods that I defined in the prototype property. So just again, quick demo of what we've done here. So again, I have the RedAngry Bird. I can throw it around as well. And for the BlueAngry Bird, I want to throw it, but its new power is splitting into 3 little birds, right? So it's supposed to be something like that. Alright, so the BlueAngry Bird has now a new power. So I wonder how I can do that using reusable object. So let's see that. We now go over JavaScript inheritance, plain JavaScript inheritance. So I'm defining a new class in JavaScript, which is the BlueAngry Bird. And this is one way of doing inheritance in JavaScript. I'm pointing the prototype property of my BlueAngry Bird to inherit the Angry Bird methods and properties. And if I want my constructor of the BlueAngry Bird to be run when I'm creating a new instance, I have to fix the constructor. This is how JavaScript works today. It's not my fault. And then I would like to add the new powers of the BlueAngry Bird. So I would like to redefine the ARM method. So simply, I'm just overriding the ARM method in JavaScript. So I'm just referencing the BlueAngry Bird prototype.arm, and I'm defining a new code for arming my BlueAngry Bird with 3 little ones. And inside the ARM method, I'm referencing a new method, which is the split. It doesn't exist in the prototype of the Angry Bird, nor in the RedAngry Bird. So I'm just adding, again, a new function to the prototype property. So in this way, when I will arm the BlueAngry Bird, it will invoke the split method when I will click it, and it will run this function, as simply as that. And just go a little. How do I use it? Simply enough, creating a new instance of the BlueAngry Bird, giving it some properties and configuration, and I can just reference the methods of the Angry Birds, such as the ARM, which will invoke again the new ARM method, and finally we'll go into the split method. Alright, so this was pretty vanilla JavaScript, as we might call it, but we got a little bit smarter, and we developed an MVC frameworks and libraries, I mean JavaScript world, to be better to use it and extend the code and take all this boiler code out of the code and make it more accessible for developers to use it easily. So, anyone familiar here with Backbone.js? You can raise your hands. All right. So I searched for a fine acronym for a backbone, and I Googled it, and this was the case. Backbone is, when used properly, keeps one's head out of one's butt. Practically, what I wanted to say here is Backbone is an MVC library. Okay, it's implemented in JavaScript, and it gives you a well-defined structure to organize the code, organize various areas of responsibilities in your code to be divided into models, into views, collections, and whatever you may choose. So we're gonna go over that, and we're gonna see how we can develop the RedAngry Bird and other birds using Backbone.js. So Backbone model is a class in Backbone which actually wraps a JSON element, and it gives you the option to listen to change events and to manage all storage of data inside a JSON object. It means, for example, that I can add some functions, and to get values or set values, I have built-in functions such as this.get and this.set. It's pretty simple, and this is how I use it. I just created a new class, a new instance of the red bird model. I'm just giving it here JSON, and it will know how to wrap it through this function. So if I would like to get the isAttacked property, I'm just referencing this sentence. And we're going to see how it can be combined with Backbone view, which later I'm going to pass my Angry Bird model into a red bird view. So the red bird view, Backbone view, is an object that practically wraps an HTML element, and it's what might some call the controller in the classic MVC. I mean, it controls between the event listeners that you put on the DOM, and it practically communicates between the model and the HTML DOM element. So a quick overview of some of the highlights of Backbone view. This is the way that I'm creating Backbone view. Using the extend method, I don't have to inherit in a strange way that we saw earlier. So Backbone view has these few magic properties. One of these magic properties is the events object, in which I can define any event listener, such as click events, mouse down, mouse up, whatever. And as a value, I'm just telling it to invoke a function that I'm defining right here. So whenever I will click this element, it will invoke the attack function. As simple as that. I don't have to write add event listener and do this and do that. I'm just defining it here in a minimalist way. The initialize property is actually the constructor function. Whenever I will create a new instance of this Redbird view, this function will run. And inside this function, I have a property called this model. Remember the last slide? I just passed this model. So Backbone practically puts the model as a first level property of this Backbone view. And in this way, I can listen to change events in the data of my bird model. So whenever I'm changing the data in my model, this render, which is a function inside Redbird view, will invoke in this context. Just as simple as that. I can listen to any change events or any special attributes change events. So this was how we converted our vanilla JavaScript of the RedAngry Bird into using Backbone. So we already seen the BlueAngry Bird, and now we're going to a step further, which is the yellow bird. And a quick demo of what we want to show. Okay, so we have the RedAngry Bird, which is working fine, and we have the blue bird as well, which is also working fine, and we want to have a new bird, which is the yellow bird. So let's see how we can extend with Backbone and do some inheritance and adding new properties and maybe even dependencies in JavaScript. So first of all, Backbone uses a utility library which is called _JS, and underscore gives us the possibility to compile text or HTML5 templates and just pass it few JSON data, and finally get an HTML string. And in this template, it's an HTML snippet, and all these JSP or ST-like variables is just a way of defining dynamic variables, which will then I will use it in this way. Okay, this is JSON with all the variables that are declared inside the HTML, and practically with underscore I'm using the template method over here, and I'm passing it the JSON data and my string of the HTML, and I will get here a new string with all the data that I defined here, which will be combined in the HTML. So now I will pop up into doing dependency management in JavaScript using require.js. Anybody here heard about require.js? Alright, great. So require.js gives us the possibility to do dependency management. I mean, we don't have to organize our calls for the JavaScript and organize all the files. We can just create a new array of the paths to the JavaScript elements, and require.js will magically load them, and we'll have a callback function here, and each argument is an instance or a reference to any module. This is a JavaScript file that goes here. So with the require function, we're beginning the use of a JavaScript application that uses require.js. And similarly, we have the define method, which is a way of require.js to say, look, I'm defining a module and I want you to load it and then run whatever goes here. So it's the same syntax. I'm just defining a new module. I'm giving it its array of dependencies. These are all paths again to files, jQuery, Backbone, Angry Birds, JS. And this function, which is the callback, will run when all of these have been loaded. So one point that I would like to emphasize is if you define a module in require.js using the define method, you have to return an object if you want to work with it, and we'll see that in a moment. So if I will build my yellow bird using Backbone.js and require.js, I will define my Angry Birds. It will have these dependencies files. I want to use jQuery underscore Backbone and the HTML templates that we saw before. And this is the callback. When all of these have been loaded to the JavaScript scope, this function will run and I will have access to these properties. And here I'm defining my new Angry Bird. And you can see that I have access to Backbone, which is here, and I'm creating a new view, and I can define any methods. And finally, I'm returning my bird as a reusable object so I can create new instances of it. Alright, so the yellow bird. So I created a new module of my Angry Bird view, and I would like to use it here. So I'm defining my yellow bird view.js, and these are all the dependencies that I want to load. It's jQuery again, underscore Backbone, the Angry Bird view.js, and again the HTML template. And this is a way in JavaScript to define private variable. I will return to it in a moment, and we'll see why this is a private variable. On this line, I'm defining my yellow bird. So again, I'm referencing the Angry Bird object, and because this is Backbone view, it has the extend method, which allows me to inherit all its methods and add some new or override it. So my yellow bird will have new powers. So again, I'm overriding the arm function over here. It will do some stuff. And I think that the yellow bird is supposed to fly fast. This is one of its powers. So I'm defining a new method, which is Flypast, and I'm referencing the bird speed variable, which I've defined outside of this function. So this is how we define private variables in JavaScript. I'll show you in a minute what it means. If I'm going to use the yellow Angry Birds, all right. So I'm creating a new bird, and I can invoke the Flypast method, but I can't reference the bird speed, which is a private variable. This is just JavaScript. So I don't have any. I have 5 minutes. Yeah. So how are we going to manage the manage all of this? All right. So this is the game controller. Okay. So it manages the application. It manages all the birds and the modules. So how we can define it? We can simply use it as passing it as a instance. All right. And we can just use game controller .on. This is how we're listening to various events, and we can trigger events to the game controller. I mean, the bird is notifying on events such as bird success hit, and the other birds can listen it. So the game controller is practically a backbone view, and you have the trigger and the on methods built in inside, and all these modules are such as the game manager or game router or any other modules are constructed and referenced here. So to sum up, I advise you to build your JavaScript application and communicate using events. All right, so you can divide your modules, divide all the areas of responsibilities using some MVC frameworks such as maybe Backbone or Ember.js or Angular of Google, and just making sure you have the control in one place. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much. Oren, do we have any questions? You're asking for the first slide to be shown again? It's a good way of, this was quite an interesting way of presenting your talk. Does your day job have anything to do at all with Angry Birds?
No. It was just a use case to show the concept of using MVC frameworks.
Cool. Tell us a bit about what you get up to in your everyday work.
Well, I'm doing mostly JavaScript consulting.
Okay.
And I'm consulting of how to use MVC frameworks, how to design an ecosystem for JavaScript, and that's practically what I'm doing. Okay,
so we just get that first slide up again, and then
this one?
That one?
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Oren Farhi. Thank you. Do we have our next speaker here? Ben Kennedy. Yes. Well-timed entrance. Hello. Hi. So Ben is just going to set up. We'll get you set up here. That was well-timed, that. Ben is a software engineer with the Web Technologies Group at Motorola Solutions. He's going to be giving us a scalable vector graphics demo. So just getting him set up for that. A little later on this afternoon, we will be joined by Jim Cresswell, a web app developer at FT Labs, talking about bringing the FT web app to emerging platforms. He'll be with us in half an hour's time. Then we have a coffee break. and following that, how HTML5 guys survive in native appland, which sounds quite interesting. And then at 3:50, to round off today's talks here in the HTML5 room, we will be hearing from Tommy Maines, who is one of the contributors to one of our panels this morning. So Ben is just getting himself set up. Don't forget, you can of course tweet about all of this using the hashtag AppsWorld. We can get all of what you're saying about it. Stick in HTML5 in there as well. One of the most popular tweets, in fact the most popular tweet from this room today